Hi there and welcome to GMI, the Guitar and Music Institute podcast number 32. My name is Jed Brocky and today I'm speaking with Melina Krumova of Drooble. Now if you've never heard of Drooble, it's a social networking platform for musicians. They've got their own ethos, which is very interesting, and how they want to promote your music. It's completely free to be part of. I only became aware of Drooble this year, probably in around April. It's a fascinating place where you can hear a huge amount of music in all genres. You can upload albums, there's a radio player, they've got huge plans for the future, and I was really intrigued to find out more about Drooble and the people behind it. So I contacted Melina, and what you're about to hear is an interview that took place with me about a week ago, and Melina was talking from her home in Bulgaria. So here we have another example of people in one part of the world affecting people all over the world, giving them a platform to be heard in what must be one of the hardest times to be a musician and actually get noticed, get your music heard. I'll also be asking Melina about the future plans of Drooble and where they want to go and how they want to support musicians. All in all, I think you're going to find this a very interesting interview indeed. Now, just for listening to this interview, you can receive discounts of any of the GMI products that we sell at the GMI store. You can find the store at gmiguitarshop.com. There's a really wide selection of guitar-orientated tutorials, PDF books, lessons, and there's a lot of free giveaway material as well. Now, to receive a 15% discount on any of the products that we currently sell at the GMI Guitar Shop, all you need to do is, once you reach checkout, add this code, capital G, capital M, capital I, 01. And you will receive a 15% discount off your total order. That code will also be available to view on the actual Guitar Music Institute website where this podcast is featured. Coming up is the interview with Melina of Drooble. Melina, it's great to have you on the show and to actually be seeing you, although the people listening to this podcast can't see you, so they don't have that delight. Welcome to the GMI podcast.
Hello guys, nice to be here.
The reason I'm talking to you, or one of the main reasons, is because as a musician I became aware of a website called Drooble, and then I did some digging and I found out that you are one of the co-founders of Drooble, and it's kind of like it's almost like Facebook for musicians. It's quite an amazing site. Could you tell us all about it, Melina?
Okay, well maybe I'm gonna start with what's Drooble first, so people, know what we are speaking about. Drooble is a truly social network for musicians that provides them with a unique approach for networking and music promotion. It's meant to be for independent artists, but who isn't independent nowadays? Yeah. So our ultimate dream is to create a culture of mutual support between musicians and unite them in a community. So that's the thing. The idea came naturally to me. It started like a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago or 9 years ago.
It looks very complex in a sense, not to use, but the actual interface, and very slick. It looks really fantastic. That doesn't come cheap. How did you get finance to get musicians, a site about musicians off the ground? Is that a hard sell?
Well, okay, so Drooble has been around for 3-4 years so far, I think now. And here we are located in Bulgaria, so here things like maintaining a startup, it's not so expensive as it is in the United States, for example, or in the United Kingdom. You know how it is. And I managed to find financing from a private investor. Like he believed in my vision, and so far we are doing good.
That's great. I actually only became aware of Drooble this year. Is that a little disappointing for you to hear that a musician should only hear about it this year, since it's been going for so long?
But it's not. It all started 3-4 years ago, and I mean, it all started with me thinking about it, and finding developers. So I may say that the first year nothing much happened. So I think we haven't been, in the process of development, things changed. And I think what we have right now is really our direction and our thing. And we've discovered it only a year ago. So you've discovered it a year ago as well. So you've been right on time.
Fair enough. That's me told. One of the reasons I'm so interested in Drooble is that in another life, I actually launched a website for musicians along with another guy and got some backing. It was called Band for the Day, and it was basically a massive competition where indie bands of all genres competed to be the band for the day. One of the things that we found, and it may just be the culture of the internet and how it's changing is, or one of the things I found, much to my astonishment, was a real lack of engagement in a sense from people. There were some bands that really got into it, but it was really hard to get the masses on board. Is that a problem for Drooble?
I think this is called it's the problem of every social network. It's called the chicken and egg problem, But you have to find ways to solve this problem. Every network has to solve this problem. And how we solve it is mainly through our karma system economy. Like, unlike the other platforms where music promotion is paid with money, usually, artists on Drooble help each other and earn a digital currency called karma from their contribution. Then they can use their karma to purchase various useful musicians tools and get their music heard by thousands of people. But in order to earn karma, they have to interact with each other.
That's the big problem.
But it's not a problem because they have the right incentive to do it, and it's not a problem for us anymore.
Do you not feel that musicians are inherently selfish when it comes to music?
They are selfish, and they are on their own, they are not united into like a brotherhood, a society, a community. All sorts of things in the world are united into these, groups, but musicians, they're not. They consider each other competition, and they don't realize that nowadays when music industry is not working at all, music industry people are not working for musicians. The only way musicians can succeed is if they are together, because things have changed. We are not in the 70s and the 80s anymore, We're not in the golden ages in a way, I think. No, that's the thing. And this is what we want to do. We want to educate them in a way that they have to be together. But this won't happen, by telling people. You have to really make it work. And this is what we do. We are trying to make it work.
Well, for me, this is the essence of the whole Drooble experience. And I guess what will make it or break it, in a sense, if you can re-educate musicians to actually try to work with each other. It's quite a deep psychological and cultural thing with musicians, isn't it? That they're into their own music, but as you say, they see other musicians as competition.
Yeah, but they don't have other choice. They have to change, because everywhere you are a musician, I'm a musician, I'm surrounded by musicians, like they're everywhere around me, and I know them really well. I can see that what musicians care the most of is to receive engagement and feedback on their music. Do you agree with me on that? Is it important for you?
For me, the most important thing as a musician is that my music is listened to.
Yes, feedback and engagement. This is how you measure if your music is listened to. So musicians want that, but in this huge, pool of free music on the internet and everything, the audience somehow becomes unengaged. They just consume. They don't want to, engage more than that. And artists feel lonely in their music creation. They create music, they spend countless, days, hours, months to do that, and then they don't get to see the emotional response from people, because this is the thing. When you create music, you put your emotions out there, you pour them into it, and maybe somehow psychologically you want to know that someone else understands you, someone else feels your emotions too. And that's the thing, musicians don't get this nowadays. They just make music and feel lonely afterwards. But on Drooble, they don't feel lonely, because I don't think there's a place on the internet right now where musicians can get more feedback.
I think that Drooble is an incredibly exciting platform. I do see one potential problem, and I might as well ask you since you're a creator.
Yeah, sure.
And that is that, like so many of these other sites that have come and gone, I feel that Drooble perhaps suffers from the same foundational problem, which is that you need people who are not musicians to be engaging to actually get the mass of people behind it.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's the case. I told you, musicians need to change, and they feel it. The thing is, okay, who is the person who listens to music the most of all people? Musicians. Is it the non-musician? It's the musician, exactly. It's the musician. Because musicians are guaranteed fans. For example, me, I cannot live without listening to music. I cannot live without discovering new music every day. I'm a musician. And all the musicians I know are like that. I think we're the biggest audience of musicians. And the learning process nowadays, more and more people are expressing themselves through music nowadays, because you can learn easier than ever. You can make music at home easier than ever. You can purchase equipment cheaper than ever, So only on Facebook, there are over 100 million people interested as musicians. This is a lot, This is a big percentage of all people, they're interested as musicians. And I think the biggest potential for engaged audience are the musicians themselves. This doesn't mean that we are not thinking of ways to bring Drooble to outside listeners, but I'm saying even if we don't, I think it's the musicians who are the biggest, the best audience, because they understand music creators. They can really give valuable feedback, because listeners, they can't really give valuable feedback. They can say, I like it or I don't like it. How can I say? They're not educated culturally to like authentic and genuine music. Emotionally. Most of the audience listens to commercial music, hits, radio hits, these things, which sometimes and very often are products. It's not authentic, original music that comes straight from the heart. And I think, this is not a problem on the first place. But what we are doing right now, we have this Drooble radio, and we started working with various independent medias, blogs, radios to stream Drooble content, So we are working in this direction, not to be only for the music community of Drooble.
Yes, I noticed that, and I've put up some of my own work on there. I just wonder, I'm just going to end this kind of part of it on that if some musicians who are more pop orientated, because what you've said is very artistic, and of course I agree with everything you've said. It really chimes with me. However, there will be perhaps a large percentage of popular-based musicians who want to see commercial success, whatever that means, but in their mind, an idea of commercial success, which probably means eyeballs and eardrums, and that's what they're looking for, aren't they? They're looking for masses of people.
No, I know what you mean, but first to clarify, pop music is not bad at all. I mean, pop music can be genuine and authentic as well. But you know what I'm speaking of? Some people just make music for the product, not for the music. This is what I'm referring to. We're looking for genuine music. It doesn't matter if it's indie pop music, if it's hip hop. It doesn't matter, but it has to be true. That's the thing.
Have you had, Melina, any artists whose careers have really taken off through engaging with Drooble?
We're working on success stories right now. I cannot give you an example, but this is just this month thing. We started thinking about this, to follow it this month. So I cannot really share anything with you right now because I don't have it. It's in progress.
Have you ever heard of a guy called Richard Kaiser of Wikiloops?
I've heard. Remind me, please.
It's just that I did a podcast with him. He's a very interesting character from Germany. He basically has this idea that music should be something to bring communities all over the world together, and people actually compose pieces of music, and someone adds the drums, someone adds the bass. He's got thousands and thousands of people. It's just that what you've been talking about with Drooble sounds very like the ethos held by Richard Kaiser over at Wikiloops.
But this is a collaboration too.
It is. I mean, I'm too self-centered to collaborate with my music. I have to write it all, you know what I mean? But I know there's a huge amount of people out there who would want to collaborate with people, and what better place for them to put that music to actually get some attention than Drooble?
Thank you very much for the idea. I'm really gonna Wikiloops. I remember it, and I'm gonna check it. Yeah.
I loved the karma thing. I thought it was really good. It's just a really nice sort of vibe about it. If I put my capitalist, bourgeois, imperialist hat on, how are you going to monetize the whole process? Or are there plans not to monetize Drooble? I don't know.
No, we have plans, of course. We are gonna make steps towards marketplace. And we will make profit from commission-based, from transactions going through the community. But we want to stay clean from ads, selling data, renting data, these things. I don't want to do that. Monthly subscriptions as well, we want to stay away from that thing. We just want to, make money when people are, making money, doing something useful. Yeah, that's the thing. That's our plans. Drooble is going to become a marketplace. The karma economy makes it a marketplace in a way. So it's a step in that direction, and we're going to get there. But the community is more important. We need to do that first.
There are many things you can buy with karma points, Melina. Which would you say were the most powerful?
Well, I can tell you what people mostly spend their karma on. They spend it on radio subscription and boosting their place on the radio. This is maybe hundreds of times more used than the others.
You're going to have a second tier of karma, like a chakra. That's where you're going to go, right? The chakra economy. So I would love to talk a wee bit about you, because you're a very interesting person, very driven. Certainly looking at your profile, look very driven. Tell us, you studied in England at the American Institute University. Was that music you were studying there?
No, I studied finance. I wasn't into music back then at all. I didn't even play anything.
Oh, so you were a suit and you had your road to Damascus.
It was one of those things, you don't know what to do. I was supposed to go to study in the States, accepted in some universities there. And then out of the sudden I said, I don't want this culture. I don't want to be there. It's too, it's too, how do I say it?
Choose your words
it's
carefully.
Too fast. It's too fast. It's too fast. Everything is fast, And I said, I don't want this. I'm European. I want to stay here. I'm going to go to London, It's a nice city. And this university was kind of my spontaneous nature. I decided 2 months before I had to go. I said, no, I'm going to England. I'm going to just find some university and I'm going to apply there and we'll see what happens. And because, most people make the mistake not to have gap years, I think, and really find out what they want to do if they haven't found it before university. So I said, okay, I'm going to study finance because it will give me a better understanding of the world nowadays. It really did help me.
I hope they taught you all about cryptocurrency.
They didn't.
Funny that.
But they didn't, but I've educated myself. And like this, I started playing the guitar when I was 23, 7 years ago, I think. Yes, 8 years ago.
What made you go there? What was the spark that made you pick up a guitar?
I've wanted several times when I was a child, but my parents, for some reason, they said, oh, this is stupid, don't do it. When you're a child, you're dependent on your parents to give you money for guitar and lessons, so you can't really do anything. And I didn't do anything, but then it stayed within me. So when I was about 15, 16, I saw this in a bar playing the guitar and singing, and I said, he feels really nice while doing this. I want to do that as well. It looks like feels really nice.
Were you also thinking, I could do better than that?
No, I didn't. And then it was like one of these spontaneous things. I was coming home for the summer from the airport. I was about to have my last year of university. And I was coming home for the summer. And when I traveled from the airport to home, I said, okay, this is the summer when I'm going to learn to play the guitar, and that's it. And I found a teacher on the next day. that was it.
What guitar did you buy?
I bought an acoustic guitar, and I still have it, and it's still my only acoustic guitar. It was a Washburn.
Hey, I've got a Washburn.
Yeah, and I played for 3 months, and then I said, okay, I want to get an electric guitar. And
slippery slope.
Yeah, and I don't know, since I started playing music, triggered a massive inner transformation within me for the better. It made me much more. I started a journey to my inner self through music. I started becoming much more self-aware, much more present, connected to others. Much more objective on my view on the world. I think it started with the guitar, I'm 100% sure. And I wanted to share this possibility for personal growth with more people. So I founded a music school in my hometown. This is the rock school you're saying.
Yes.
I started it the first year I started playing the guitar.
So you started a rock school when you'd been playing the guitar for a year?
Yeah.
That's pretty big-headed, actually.
Yeah, but it started really small. It was like a joke, I rented one apartment and I found one guitar teacher, and that was it. And it grew so quickly, you can't even imagine. It grew so quickly. It's been 8 years now. We give over 400 lessons per week.
Wow.
And it's like all the instruments you can imagine.
Is this in Sofia?
Yeah, it's in Sofia, yeah. We have 2 recording. We opened a school in another city as well. We have 2 recording studios. We have a concert venue. We have rehearsal spaces.
Can I come and play there?
Sure. And we are constantly growing. So actually, the most important impact this thing had was that I could see how we created a community of several thousand people who became really supportive of each other, and the local scene bloomed in a way out of this.
This is so what a fantastic story.
But it's true, and I got inspired, and I said, okay, I did it for one city. can I do it for the whole world?
Not to make too big a jump.
Yeah, no, it's just a small step.
And then the universe, the known universe.
Yeah, so I said, okay, maybe I can start. The technology is advanced nowadays. Maybe I can start some sort of website. Who knows? Maybe it will work. I'll try. I like music. I want to work for music all my life, just to contribute to the development of music, and not just through making music, but I don't know, I want each person to be able to feel and express, themselves through music.
When there's so much pressure just to buy things and to have money, I think it's really important that people like you are out there encouraging people to be creative and to respond to that creative energy within them.
Yeah, I think creativity is really a really important part of a person, and I think nowadays we are suppressing creativity, I'd say, because when the mind is busy all the time, the mind cannot be creative because you are all the time in some sort of conversation. It doesn't matter if it's outside or inside. Creativity is about listening, I think. So a person needs to be quiet in their minds, and music really helps, I think.
You said you're talking about taking rock school to other places. Can you give me any insider nods and winks? Or is that just a little fantasy at this moment?
No. We opened in 2 cities. We have a school. We have a art center, if I may call it, like musical home in Sofia and in Varna. That's the seaside capital of Bulgaria. But I'm so busy with Drooble that I can't really, expand more. I want to expand with Drooble. That's the thing. But Drooble is entirely inspired by rock school.
Is there any sort of end game to Drooble? What's it about? Because the big issue facing most musicians, whether they're professional or semi-professional, is actually paying the rent. Despite the fact that the irony or the paradox is we play music and art because we don't want to be thinking about money all the time, but as soon as we become creative, all we do is think about money to try and pay the rent. Is there some sort of monetization ideas coming through for Drooble for the musician?
Yeah, that's one of our main goals. We want to satisfy, with Drooble, we ultimately want to satisfy 2 musicians' needs. First need we've covered. That's to get their music heard and engaged with. And the second need we want to satisfy is to help them earn revenue from their music-related skills. We don't say necessarily it will be from streaming their music or selling their music, but from music-related skills. Because I'm not, in my lifetime, I'm not only occupied with creating music, but I'm only occupied with working on music-related projects, and this makes me really happy.
Can I offer a little idea that's popped into my head how musicians...
Sure. Yeah.
I think one way would be to open up people's music. Obviously, I'm a guitar player. I'm interested in guitar music, amongst many things. But if you had, say, guys who were transcribing, if the community transcribed solos in Music and Tab, and then that music could then be sold at a low cost, which split between Drooble, the creator, and the actual person who transcribed it.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. It hasn't come to my mind. What we've been thinking so far, I'm gonna tell you, we will release a new feature, maybe next month, latest next month. It will be a more profound feedback and reviews. So, you're a musician, I'm a musician. You have a work in progress or just finished song, and you want to get, feedback on it and see how people react. You can purchase a more detailed feedback. You can purchase it via karma points or by money. It doesn't matter, whatever you choose of those 2. Then musicians from the community, there will be packages. Minimum will be 10 person. will review our song, you will be provided with information on emotional responses, logical reasoning, recommendations for improvement, general impressions. It will be a really nice detailed feedback on your song. So musicians who make the review, they will be paid from this.
Melina, do you think you're in danger of sort of going down the rabbit hole on this one? For example, I've seen the review options. Now, as a musician and as a composer, I speak through the music I compose and arrange. I don't care for people's thoughts. They either like it or they don't. Who's this therefore aimed at? Is it aimed at people who haven't yet found their musical voice? Because everybody's got an opinion on music, even people who aren't musicians. They like it or they don't, it's this or it's that. You know, you could take any rubbish piece of music, and if you market it enough, even if there's nothing other than someone hitting a rock, people will buy into that if they're told to buy it. How can you come to that place where meaningful, everyone has got opinion? Does that make any sense? That's probably the worst question I've ever asked.
Well, I'd answer by just one, sentence. Praise makes musicians feel good, but feedback makes them better. And this is not just for musicians, it's for every, me as a founder, as a CEO, I take feedback on everything, and not just on the business side, on personal side. I think feedback makes us better, and we really need to be open, and not just open, we need to look for feedback. And we need to look for negative feedback as well.
But is music about that? Music is an emotional response.
Yeah, that's why our feedback will be concentrated more on emotional responses. It will look at other things like songwriting, production, what audience,
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, because production is important. Sometimes when you, for example, outside of the emotional response part, production is important to hear opinion on, because production is really important nowadays. The sound, how you make things. And when you work on a piece for a long time, you lose perspective. I can see it because I produce all my things myself. Like I record them, I mix them, I master them, and you lose perspective at some point. So I'm looking for as much feedback as I can on production from all the people I know, like all people.
I think that's one of the great weaknesses in the chain of music creation. I undoubtedly think it's amazing that what we can do in our own bedrooms. However, I think when it comes to recording, I always record out with my own environment, and I always get an engineer or someone else, and then I'll take it to a guy to mix it down. It's so you're not in your own environment. I think that's one of the great problems of recording music in your own environment. It's just such a hothouse.
This is what I said. Our feedback tool, which will, release soon, I hope it will solve the problem for musicians to be able to get more emotional response for their music and better production feedback, That's the thing. These are the two main areas of focus. So I think it will be useful. Me, if I'm as a musician, I find it useful for myself. And I always think like that. If I find it useful, if I really use something and find the use of it, I think there are at least 100,000 people who will be like me and find the use, I always think like this. And so far it proves correct. Of course, I can always be wrong, but so far it proves correct.
And what about something like gigging venues and setting up networks around the world for people to actually tour and play their music live?
We haven't explored that option. I talked to you about the music feedback tool because it's coming next month. But what we are thinking for the future, I'm gonna tell you the monetizing ideas for musicians. Yeah, this is what we were discussing. So, as I said, we're going towards marketplace. I'm going to tell you what will be exchanged in this marketplace, in my opinion. For example, you are a guitar player. Let's say, hypothetically, I'm a bass player. I hope not, but let's say in this scenario, I'm a bass player. Yeah. So I'm a bass player, and I'm trying to make a song, and I need some guitar parts for it. I ask you, you write the guitar parts, I pay you the amount we've agreed, for example. Or I have a second-hand instrument which I don't need anymore, and you need it, I sell it to you, for example. You are from, I don't know where you're from, but let's say you're from London. I'm from Sofia. I want to have some concerts arranged in London. You're a local musician, you know all the places. You can act as a promoter, to help me find, clubs. I pay you like a service fee for that. You arrange all the things for me. You help me. It's for all the things that independent artists need, but no one is there to help them do it. Like organize a tour. Because for you to organize me a tour, like a few concerts in Scotland, probably it's easy. If you want to come to Bulgaria, I can organize you everything because I know all the clubs, all the places, But if I want to go to Scotland, I don't know anybody and it seems so difficult for me,
Yeah, I think if we can see this happening through platforms like Drooble, it would just be literally amazing for people.
Yeah, that's the thing. We want to enable artists to exchange products and services. Any products, any services, and help each other through this. And another thing we've thought about, it's like a lot further, is to somehow offer licensing services and,
synchronization.
I'd rather say, I imagine it like this. For example, we have the Drooble radio, we have the artists. Let's say artists allow us to offer their music to stores, shops, restaurants, these places. And they pay royalties for the artists. Because if we improve the quality of the radio, the songs will be really nice. It will be songs who people cannot listen anywhere else.
There's undoubtedly great material on there. That sounds like a hornet's nest, to be honest, because then you're going to be coming straight across the royalty firms like PRS and Gamma. Is that really a road you want to go down? Sounds great. But...
No, I'm just exploring some ideas with you. This is so far away, from me.
But it's a really important point that I think all these collection societies, they don't represent normal musicians. They're just really there picking up money from Elton John and Paul McCartney. That's what they're there for, and a new way has got to come through.
Yeah, well, these are the directions we are thinking about, but as I said, things change, so... Well, we don't know. One thing that I don't think will change is that we don't want to make money from ads. That's the thing. We don't want to use musicians as products, and we want to help musicians earn money and get feedback on their music. That's the thing.
Melina, what about your own music? Tell me a wee bit about that.
I have a metal band. It's called Grimace. We play heavy music. I like to call it heavy blues, but it's actually more like a death metal with groove and progressive elements. That's it.
So let me get this right. You run a music social media platform and you're in a band. So how many listens do you get on Drooble, and are you paying for your karma?
Well, actually, I removed my songs from the charts manually with the help of my development boys as well. Because people go to my profile and they check it, and I noticed that I've only put 2 songs there, but these two songs were getting so much engagement that were staying on top of the charts all the time, and I just said, okay, I'm removing them. not gonna be listed in the charts anymore.
That's big of you, because the temptation must be massive.
No, I don't really care. I'm a different type of musician. I like to hear what people think. I like to know that my music is helping other people emotionally, to release emotions or to integrate emotions. But I really like to make it. I don't even like recording, I just like playing music. That's the thing. I like playing it. Recording actually frustrates me because it's so long and it takes so much time of my playing.
Melina, how come you speak English so well?
Do I speak so well?
Yeah.
I think I speak like a proper Eastern European girl. I don't know. Actually, it comes really naturally for me to express myself in English. I don't think of it. It just flows. Maybe it's not perfect, but I think my expression is free, and I like this.
English is very perfect with a slight accent, which is none the worse for it. It's quite enjoyable. So listen, I know you're busy today. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm going to do my little bit, and you probably don't need my help, but I'm going to give it anyway.
No, thank you very much.
To get Drooble out there through GMI, I think a lot of people are going to be massively impressed by you, not just Drooble, because let's face it, you are Drooble. Where did you get that name from, by the way? It's rubbish. It sounds like dribble.
Well, that's the thing. As I said, I start things spontaneously. So when I started making Drooble, I had this domain in my basket, which was drooble.com. And I said, okay, I'm not going to think of anything else. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm just going to use this one because it's like Google. It's short. You can remember it. I don't have to think of anything original, you know. I said, I'm going to do it with this. This is how it went.
Isn't it strange when you start something up and it becomes an entity? It almost has a life of its own.
Well, it's good when things happen like this. I prefer ideas to evolve, you know, beyond people and beyond anything. This is the good way of things happening. Because if you want to control everything, every little aspect, you can't accomplish much because you're just one potential. But if you integrate all potentials, you know, into one, it can really make something nice. This is my vision. I want to create Drooble with the Drooble musicians, not just by my vision, you know. I listen to them, I'm speaking to them all the time. Yeah.
Melina, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that's it for another interview podcast from GMI. If you come over to the guitarmusicinstitute.com, then there are another 31 podcast interviews you can get your hands on. Obviously, if you're listening to this from any of the download sites like iTunes or on Android, I'd encourage you to come over to the guitarmusicinstitute.com website, where you can see more information about this podcast and all our podcasts. And finally, remember, if you have enjoyed this podcast, go to gmiguitarshop.com and check out all our guitar-orientated learning products. I'll be back soon with another podcast from someone else in the guitar and music industry. I look forward to your company. Bye.